I'm gonna first assume that this is where I'm supposed to be, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Could y'all all do me a favor? Before I get started, I'd like everybody to take a second, close your eyes. I want you to get centered with your seat. I'm about to draw out a scenario for you. All right, you're in your seat. And right now you are by yourself. All you know that you are on a stage and there is construction that is happening around you. You are told to stand up and you hear ding ding. Now ding ding can stand for a lot of things. Ding ding can be dinner's ready. I mean, I know that a lot of you guys are probably ready for dinner to be ready tonight. But ding ding, open your eyes, and what you see is Mike Tyson throwing a hook coming straight to your face. How you feeling in that moment? Not feeling too good. The craziest thing is that life is that scenario. A lot of times that we end up in a fight that we don't even know that we're in. But by sheer nature of being born, we are in a fight with life. I didn't mention a referee. When you're in a fight with life, there is no referee. Keep that in mind. So let me tell you a little bit about myself, and I will get into like what I came here to talk about. My name is Emeka Nnaka. I hail here from Tulsa, but I am originally from Georgia by way of DC, and I lived in Nigeria for about 3 years. Adam told me there's a group of young professionals, and I know that when I was 19, I was just out of high school, trying to figure out what my next steps are going to be. And just like the way they tell us, the American dream is, I got to go to college, you got to get a life, get your degree, get a life, and build on from that. But remember what I told you about life, right? Life is one of those things where you might write down your plans, and life will rip it up, throw it back in your face, and tell you to do something with that. I had plans. At 19, I had plans. I moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, to go to school at Oral Roberts University, where I would go there for business administration. Now, I want to give you a little backstory. I am a kind of guy that enjoys to learn. Now, I enjoy learning. I love education. But when I was younger, I was more prone to fun. And so when I came here to go to school at Oral Roberts University, I'm thinking like, all right, here's my chance to go to school and I'm gonna figure out what college life is like. And college life hits kind of hard, kind of fast, kind of quick. I moved to Oklahoma a state that I've never been in before. And in my fall semester, I scheduled all of my classes to start at least from 8 a.m. so I could be done by 12 p.m. Now, in August, September, October, that schedule was great. I was first in class, I was done, I could play my video games, I was cool. And then November came, and I'd look out that window at 8 o'clock, and there'd be these little flakes of white stuff that I didn't know nothing about, coming from like Georgia. So, oh man, like forget that class. Like I am not going there tonight. And then that turned into a series of not showing up to class, which turned to a series of Fs, and turned to a series of like just bad grades that led me to get, flunking out of college. And I thought that this was kind of the end of it for me. Like I knew that academia, not my strong suit, not because I'm not smart, but just because I just wasn't focused. But I got an opportunity. I run to this guy at my gym, and he presents me with this opportunity to join a semi-pro football team. Now, I want you to look at me. Don't let this chair fool you. I am every bit of 6'5", and at that time I was 250 to 260 pounds, a unit. And here I am starting on this football team, and it was an opportunity for me to do something great. I mean, I think that as any individual, I think all we want is an opportunity to be more than what we've shown, an opportunity to do something good, do something great. We pray for this all the time, and here was this opportunity. And so I start this career path. I win a championship. The next year over, we're primed to repeat. And, this is the best time of my life. The doors of opportunity are wide open. And all it takes for me to step through. And 3 weeks after one of the most important calls that I would get. A call that a guy would invite me to come and go to school in Missouri to go play ball there. And this is a chance for me to redo my wrongs. He said, forget about your transcript. We want you to come and play football for us. We're going to put a plan together, and you're going to be able to redo those wrongs and have the opportunity to play football. Sign me up for that. 3 weeks later, on a play that I've made 100 times before, I go down, I make a tackle, and crack. I go down, player gets up, and I am kind of stuck. And I'm going to fast forward through this because there's no need for me to bore you with details, but if you want details, you can ask me later. I would be stuck on the ground. I would be talking to my trainers and find out that something is just not right. And I'm trying to get up. Their trainers are telling me to get up, and it's just not working. What I know that I'm thinking in my head and what's happening in my body is not working. I would get rushed to a hospital where they would cut off all of my pads, and they would tell me that I'd go into an MRI machine. They'd let me know that I had broken my neck at the C5, C6 level, and I was paralyzed from my chest down. Now, hearing those words are one thing. And it's something that when I tell you hearing it as a diagnosis, it's its own devastating news. But you don't feel it when you hear it. Okay? Has anyone in here ever had a paper cut? Sometimes you don't necessarily feel when the cut happens. Interestingly enough, whenever you feel like that, whenever you feel a cut start to hurt, that is when that cut has started to heal. And so that's delayed pain. It's a part of it. Sometimes you're looking around, you see a bruise, and you're like, wait, how'd that get there? When did I do that? So I hear this devastating diagnosis. You're broken, your neck's broken. You have a spinal cord injury, you're paralyzed from the chest down. And none of that is really clicking for me yet. Because this doctor don't know that I just got the most important phone call that I needed 3 weeks ago. And so, yeah, whatever. So I'm in the hospital. I was in Arkansas when my accident happened. So they, after 10 days in ICU there, they bring me back to Tulsa. I begin the process of rehabilitation. I am doing everything that I'm told to do. I'm waking up, I'm doing occupational therapy, I'm having lunch, physical therapy, back to physical therapy some more, go to sleep, wake up, rinse, repeat. This is my life for 3 months. And a doctor comes in after 3 months of my being in this intensive rehab and tells me that they have drawn up my discharge papers and I am being released to go back to my life. And I'm gonna tell you that in that moment, when the doctor is telling me that the hospital, this place that I've come to that, I'm hurt, you're supposed to heal me. I'm broken, you're supposed to fix me here. This hospital, they're telling me that they've done everything they can do for me, and I am released to go back to my life. As a 21-year-old sitting in this hospital room, I'm gonna tell you that this is the first time that nothing about this whole situation makes sense. When I went down on the football field and I got these trainers around me talking to me about hey, we gotta get you on the stretcher. That makes sense. Something just happened, I can't get up, get me on the stretcher. When I get to the hospital and they tell me that I'm gonna, they're gonna take all this stuff off, I'm gonna do the MRI, that makes sense. Something is wrong. Y'all are supposed to diagnose this thing, get back to me. Even when the doctor tells me, you have a spinal cord injury, you're gonna do therapy, I understand that. You've given me a diagnosis, I have something that I'm gonna work toward, I'm going to walk out of the hospital. So when, again, he tells me that they've done everything they can for me, this just don't make sense because I'm supposed to walk out of this hospital, not be wheeled out of it. I leave, go home, and now would begin the darkest times of my entire life. And in this moment, I am now understanding that I am in a fight. It is now that ding, ding, my lights have come on. Oh, I've been knocked down. One thing I'm gonna tell you about life is that all of us get knocked down at some point. Some of us get knocked down harder than others. Some of us get knocked down in groups. Some of us get knocked down, family lines. We all get knocked down. And I feel like when we are down, that is when a fight starts. Mike Tyson, the guy that I mentioned, that when you open up your eyes, he is coming with that right hook. He has a famous quote. He was interviewed, a fighter that he was going to be fighting was interviewed prior to the fight, and they asked the guy, hey, you're fighting Mike Tyson tomorrow. Like, how do you feel? And the guy's like, you know what? I got a plan for Mike Tyson. I've watched all the film. I've seen his fights. I got a plan. The very next interview, they asked Mike Tyson, hey, so-and-so says he got a plan for you. Mike Tyson famously looks at the camera and says, hey, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. When I watch, I love fights. And when you hear ding ding, fighters come out and they kind of touch gloves and they kind of bounce around and they try to feel each other out. And the fight really don't start until someone really gets touched. Now I'm feeling touched because my going down the football field wasn't that was more of the first punch in a 5-punch combo. Again, it's going down the football field. It's having the neck surgery. It's going through all of that rehab just for them to tell me that life, that this is supposed to be my new normal. It's getting out of the hospital and then realizing that the people that I thought were going to be there for me are not there for me anymore. It is now realizing that life has just gotten real and I feel helpless. I feel like I have no idea what to do. In fact, I call it triple darkness because when people talk about dark times, it is one thing to be in a place that's so dark that you don't know what you don't know what you don't know. Like looking in the mirror, I have no idea who I am. And I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. I'm 6'5", 250 pounds, and now in the blink of an eye, I am struggling to lift my hands over my head. I am dealing with issues of, you just all things come with your body just not functioning right. Like this body that I knew for 21 years, when I say jump, it jumps. When I say lift, it lifts. When I run fast. And now I can't do any of it. And this is my identity. I don't know if any of you understand what it's like to be like an athlete in an elite shape where it's like, yo, you dedicate a lot of investment goes into your physical being and what you do on the field. And to put in these years of work and to have all of it snatched from me in the blink of an eye, that was something that was hard to deal with. And so I want to tell you that I'm going to jump ahead to I'm fast forward for a little bit because I'm telling you about the dark, but let me fast forward and tell you a little bit about the light. Today, I am a mental health therapist. I have a master's degree, I have a bachelor's degree, I have an associate's degree. I got degrees. I work with a foster care agency. I work with high school students. I work with students that are in foster care and just like transient youth. I travel, I speak. I am a tri-chair for the Tulsa Area United Way 100-year centennial campaign that's happening this year. I can tell you, I can rattle off a lot of achievements that I have today that I have gained over the last 15 years since my accident. I live in my light today. But getting to this point was a fight. And so I want to tell you how I got from dark to light, because as I look around this room, I love that when I get to talk to people that are professionals, because I talk to professionals. But I don't like talking to professionals about professional work, because I like talking to people about life. Because your life will bleed into your profession. Your profession will bleed into your life. We can talk about discompartmentalizing. It is real, but it's also at the same time, if you have a sucky job, it affects you. If you have a great job, it affects you. If your life at home is sucky, it affects you. And so I like to talk to people about life and things that they can apply to both personal and professional lives. So let's talk about in the dark. I can tell you that I'm gonna give y'all, if you're taking notes, I'm gonna give you 5 things, We're gonna talk about 5 things, and I'll break down what I'm talking about. Going from dark to light. Number one, I want to tell you that when I was adjusting to life as a person with a disability, whew, man, saying that was a mouthful because I am now adjusting to the world and not just the change in my world. I'm adjusting to the world's view of me. When I tell y'all the first time that I left my house to go visit some friends who, out of their heart, they missed me. Mecca, we need you to come out. Let's go have lunch or something. I'm learning how to use the bus systems, and I take this bus all the way to go meet my friends to go have lunch, and get up to the restaurant, and there's a curb, and then not only is a curb, it's steps inside. I don't have a ramp. It's not something that I was thinking about. It's not something that they were thinking about. And I can tell you that was the first time that my existence as a person with a disability was made real. And as an African American, I grew up in the South. I grew up in Georgia. I know how to navigate racism like that. I taught that. You get taught that young. You got to go through some certain experiences. Georgia is South racism is very different. There's Midwest racism here, but it's different than the South racism. They racism, but again, there's just levels to this. There's levels to this. So I've gone through that kind of time. I understand what that is. But to have that happening at the same time of trying to figure out, disability and figuring out that this world, this world, there's a lot of places that's not built for me. There's a lot of places that they had no thought of me in mind, to come in. And so now understanding that, I'm going through the worst thing I've ever gone through. And so now I'm internalizing all of it. So because this restaurant isn't accessible, then that means that I'm not accessible. I shouldn't be here. And it's a weird mind game that your body or your mind plays on you when you're going through something tough. You know what I mean? People think that I can tell you that when I enter a room, it's very easy to see. It's very easy to see my wheels. It's very easy to see this brother guy kind of has gone through some things, or is in some things right now. Easy because it is what you see physically. But what you don't see is the mental aspect of what do you do when your mind turns on yourself? How do you get out of that? And the thing is, when we get knocked down, I think it's like stubbing your toe. When you stub you're going through your house, you stub your toe. In that moment that you're feeling that pain, nothing else in the world matters except for the pain that you're feeling in that very moment. Same thing when life is pressing and this life is putting pain on you. It's nothing else matters but this pain that I'm experiencing right now. And it's easy to feel like no one else understands this pain that I'm feeling right now because it's very easy to kind of wall off, isolate, and feel like no one understands what I'm going through. And this is where I was at for a good amount of time leaving the hospital. No one knows what I'm going through. I am a failure. I've failed in college. I failed at football. I failed at life right now. I'm a burden right now to my friends. I'm a burden to my family. And it's just spiraling. Again, when you're on a downward spiral, it's where is the end? So first thing I will tell you is that while in my life, I was taking it personal that the world doesn't view me the way that, I want to be viewed. People don't view me the way that I want to be viewed. I'm feeling insulted by my experience, not because I've done anything wrong, but the world isn't made for me. But I'm taking it personal, and I'm feeling like it's me that's not made for the world. I had to get to a point where I had to stop listening to the lies that I'm telling myself. And so I decided that if I'm going to take this personal, I'm going to take my life personal too. This is my life, and I only get this one that I get to live. And so, faith was huge, because while I mentioned how I was going through a time where a lot of people left my life, pain, pain will get you, because a lot of people leave your life, but it made room for a lot of people to come in. One thing that I've learned about life comes down to two things. It's really about loss and it's really about love. Here I am mourning the loss of a life that I had built. I'm mourning loss of friends that are leaving my life. I'm mourning the loss of the dreams that I've dreamed. I'm mourning loss of the son that I'm supposed to be, the brother that I'm supposed to be, and the friend that I've always known myself to be. And when it is tough to watch that kind of go away, because the craziest thing is that when I was in the hospital, going through everything I'm going through, I told you, I was attacking every therapy with vigor, with zeal, with zest, because in that moment, I had put this life that I've been living on a shelf with every expectation that I was going to pick it up when I got out of the hospital. And then I got out of the hospital, and every single day that went by, it was a realization that the life that I have on the shelf, every day that goes by, this life is expiring. And so I am watching a life that I have built and put in all this work die before my very eyes. And it's a slow death, because there are things that I know for a fact that I'm not going to do. Like, I am not going to climb Mount Everest. Have I ever wanted to climb Mount Everest? No. But my mind is playing tricks on me, because right now, all I can think about are all these things that I'm never going to do again. Like, I'm not going to beat the world record in jump rope. I've never wanted to do that. But again, I'm cycling. And finally, I just got to a point where it's like, yo, enough is enough. It's time for a change. Like, I can't keep, life is beating me up enough. Why am I handing life tools to beat me down? There's a book that I read by Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he's all about the brain, and he talks about how our thoughts are matter, like thought matter. As matter, we all know matter to be solid, liquid, gas. We know that this plate is solid. We know the air that we breathe exists, and we know that the drinks that, I am sorry, because I realize that y'all probably ain't drank for a long time, and I don't mean to tempt nobody, but we all know that the drinks that we drink are liquid. But what about thought matter? Thought matter is just as much matter as the physical plate that's in front of you, the water in the cup, or the air that you're breathing. But you wouldn't take that plate and bash yourself over the head, would you? You wouldn't go lay down and waterboard yourself just for kicks, or just hold your breath to take away the oxygen that is giving you life. But why do we do that with our thoughts? Why do we beat ourselves up over the head with our thought matter? And so I had to kind of get control of my thoughts. Again, I'm taking it personally. My life is my life, and it's my life to live. How do I do that? After taking it personally, it's like, yo, this is my life, and I need to be responsible for it. I need to take responsibility for the life that I am given, because I'm not dead. I am not dead. So why am I acting like it? I also listened to this guy give a presentation, and he mentioned, this is one of the core things that stuck with me, and I live out of this, but he mentioned everybody wants to make a difference. In this room, how many of you guys want to make a difference in this world? Okay? By show of hands, how many of you guys want to make a difference in this world? Like I told you, life is about love, it's about loss, it's about grief, it's about gratitude. And when we grieve the things that we've lost, it gives us gratitude for things that we love. Here I am listening to this guy talk, and he mentions how we all want to make a difference in this world. And then he says, how many people are in this world? And at that time, it was like 6.8 billion. I'm sure it's more now. And he said, there are 6.8 billion people on this earth. 6.8 different variations of what the world means to them. So instead of us trying to make a big difference on this big world, can we make a difference in somebody else's world? Because if you do that, you have in turn impacted and affected the world at large. Something about that talk gave me a certain inspiration, because what I took away from that was that, yo, I don't need to think about this big thing of like, what does recovery in my life look like? I don't need to think about all these things that are giving me actually anxiety. What I need to think about is, what can I do with what I have where I am? How can I take responsibility for my life? And I define responsibility as responding with ability. So the question becomes, what can I do? I've already made the long list of the things that I can't do. I've already gone through my head the things that I would never do, or at least I thought. So could I flip the switch and now not let the things that I can't do stop me from doing the things that I can do? And that was a major mindset shift. And I didn't know that that was what I needed at the time. Because again, I'm on the mat, and now I'm starting to feel like, you know what? I'm gonna get back up. And sometimes getting back up, the thing is this, everyone gets knocked down, and it's very easy to stay down. I don't fault anyone for staying down after life has been like brutal to them, because that is always there. The option to stay down is always going to be there. After your first failure, it's always there to not try again. After you fall down, like I learned to ride a bike. My learning to ride a bike was a very traumatic experience. I hit a stop sign in front of a bunch of fourth graders. They never let me live it down. That was a very traumatic experience. But I decided that, you know what, I'm gonna get back up. Y'all can make fun of me all you want for my attempt, but you're not gonna make fun of me for not being able to ride a bike. Like, I'm gonna get this thing going. And so I am starting to figure out I'm gonna get back up. So now I've taken my life personally. I have decided I'm gonna respond with ability. So what is it that I can do? I lost my ability to walk. I didn't lose my ability to talk. I didn't lose my ability to think, to learn, to be a positive influence on the world. I didn't lose any of that. Sometimes life will try to play games on you to think that because you've lost X, you lost Y and Z. That's not the case, you know? And so now I'm deciding that I am going to get back up, and it's now do or die. And I don't know if you understand what that reference is, but when I was younger, when I used to play pickup basketball, you get fouled, you go to the line, and the guys whoever fouled you would get the shout out, all right, do or die. Basically, I'm betting that you're either gonna make or miss. No one ever says make, because you could just miss on purpose. So do or die. Here I am, I'm asking myself, do or die, Mecca. Like, yes, you have fallen. Yes, it is hard to get back up. Yes, life is hard, but do or die. But giving up is not an option. Like, you gotta decide right now, are you gonna get back up or are you gonna die right here? And I was not going to give in, and I was not gonna give up. And so it is, I'm gonna get back up. And then life would knock me back down. And I was like, at this point, my mindset has shifted. Like, I've gone through the darkest moment of my life, and I've come out with my own light. And so now when darkness comes, that's cool. I'll pull out my flashlight. I'll pull out my lantern. Pull out my lighter if I got to. Because even just a little bit of light is enough to expel darkness. And so now, getting back up. You know what? I'm gonna volunteer and do something. And the craziest thing is that sometimes people think that you need a bunch of things to get started. You don't. All you need is an ability, a strategy, and I'm gonna tell you that ability plus strategy equals outcomes. Again, I started to look at what can I do? And then as I took responsibility, all right, it's on me to do this. There's nobody coming to rescue you, Mecca. And sometimes when you're down for the count and you think that someone's gonna throw in the towel, there is no referee in this game called life. There's no one that's gonna throw in the towel. Either you get up and fight back, or you let life knock you, pound you, and kill you. So now, I've now plotted out, all right, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. Gotta show up. At the end of the day, nothing else matters if you don't show up. It is your life that you show up for, whether that be professionally, whether that be personally, you have to show up for yourself. Because no one else can live your life for you. I work with kids every single day that have gone through some of the hardest things imaginable. And still, I have to remind them that no one is gonna save you. Like, I am here to be a help and a guide, but at the end of the day, you have to show up for yourself. And you have to do the steps that it takes to live the life that you want. And then finally, after you show up, you have to make a commitment that you're not gonna give up. Like, there is a great story of Hernan Cortez, who he arrived, explorer, he arrived on the island with 600 men. And when those 600 men got off the boat, he famously tells them to go burn the boats. And they burned it down because that was a symbol that symbolized that there was no going back. Like, the mission A is mission A. Plan B is plan A. Like, there is no going back. When you have plotted out when you have decided that you want to be a certain person, you want to accomplish certain things, you have to burn the boats on the person that you want to be. You're going to have trials, tribulations. They don't stop. I promise, like they do not stop. But if you are committed to the person that you want to be, when things like that show up, you're only looking for new ways to grow and new ways to adapt and overcome. I am a guy, like, people would like to look at me and think that it's a guy that has picked himself up by the bootstraps. I told you, I grew up in Georgia. I've never owned a pair of boots in my life. I didn't even know boots had straps. I'm just a guy that when I found myself down on some hard times, I recognized that life was not over. And really what life is about is not about me. I was so self-centered because, again, like I said, pain will make you look inward and make you feel like you're the only one going through it. When I processed that pain, I was able to find purpose. And that purpose being, show up for you and show up for the people around you. If I tell you anything, it is be good to people and be good for people. Because this world is hard enough on everyone. Like, there's so much going on that makes life hard because it's easy to feel helpless. Like, it's easy to feel like I have no control over what's going on in the world. I have no control over what's going on in the politics. I have no control over what's going on, like, outside of my own head. But you take control of what you control. As a football player, one of the models he tells is control the controllables. Don't worry about what you can't do. Like, identify the things that are within your control and do it. Put a strategy together and get the results that you want. As I close, the last thing I want to tell you is, like I said, life don't stop lifing. After my accident, fast forward 5 years, I have raised money to buy a van, an accessible van. I've got a job. I graduated. I'm a influential person in my community. 2018, things are going great until they weren't again. One day in August, I am driving home from work, driving too fast, crashed my car, totaled it out. This car that the city, like people, fundraised, invested $82,000 for me to get, gone, just like that. 2 weeks after that, my dad, who helps me get up and out of bed, falls, breaks his ankle. To the point where he calls me, tells me that what just happened, and I can't go to the hospital. He goes, has multiple surgeries on his leg, and is there for 5 days. And for 5 days, I can't see him, because I have no ride. And then, craziest thing is that 2 weeks after that, my apartment complex catches on fire and 16 units go down. All of these things happen within a 31-day span. And the night that I was at the hospital, or not the hospital, but the night that I was at this hotel trying to process all of this darkness that's trying to come again, I realized, you know what? Hello, darkness, my old friend. You know what? I see that you've come to visit me again, but I got something for darkness. And pull out my little lighter because I know I found my light. I know who I am. I have put my abilities to the test. I have put my abilities with strategies, and I've gotten results. So darkness, you can't swallow me up no more. Like I am fighting back. You might knock me down, cool. But I'm about to get back up and hit you with one mean right. And I've tried to do that every single day. So it does not matter how many times you fall, as long as the number of times that you get back up is more than that one. And so with that, I'm gonna let this thing open up for questions. That's my time, I guess, so. I'm gonna tell y'all like I tell my students, like, be curious. Don't be the people that's like, oh, I don't want to ask no questions. And then when somebody asks a question, you're like, ooh, I got a question. My man.
So you mentioned that when you were a little younger, you didn't take school very seriously. You kind of had a lackadaisical approach to learning. But then, when you decided to start shining your light, you wanted to go back and get your associate's, your bachelor's, your master's degree. How did you approach it, and did you find yourself a completely different student, or did you still have to push through some of the challenges that you did when you were there?
Dog, I'm my worst enemy. And so while I decided to go back to school, how I approached it was understanding that I'm scared, I'm gonna do it scared. Because sometimes the opportunities that are there for you, they don't matter how you show up. Again, it don't matter if you show up scared, if you show up if you show up not knowing that you can do it. If you show up, opportunity will present itself. And so when I got an opportunity to go back to school, I'm looking at my former transcript like, ooh, I don't know about this. Like it still wasn't important. But I had decided that the person that I want to be was a person that was educated. I was working with kids telling them like, hey, go to school, go to college. And after 3 years of watching seniors that I was talking to graduate and live there, go on to do some things. The sophomores graduate, go to be seniors and graduate. It was one of those things. When am I gonna stop being the inspirer and be inspired? And so I decided I was gonna go back to school. And it was like, hey, the first classes that I had to go and take were classes that I had failed 3 times each before. Humanities, statistics, and college algebra. I actually got busted cheating in a humanities test and I almost got kicked out of school. That's a fun fact that not a lot of people know. And I had to go back and do humanities, and it's just doing it scared and just understanding that every single day that you're in a fight between old you and new you. And sometimes your mind will tell you that just because you used to be, that's how you have to be. And that's a lie. Just because you used to be does not mean that you have to be. You have a decision to make every single day, and some days old you is gonna win. Some days new you is gonna win. But the greatest thing is to make sure that new you outlasts old you. And I think if you can do that, you can get to your dreams, your goals. And it really is just being I think they're having a new definition of what consistency means, because people think consistency is I gotta do something every single day. Consistency don't look like that. Consistency looks like being on for 7 days, being off for 3, getting back on for 2, being off for 1, getting back on for 7. As long as you're keeping going and you're making progress, that is what consistency is. And so I will tell you that, going back to school is just hey, I'm starting this process, and by hook or crook, do or die, I'm gonna do. And I had to my strategies had to change up a little bit, because I am still the same student. I play too much. I could not be at a big school because I get distracted too easily. So I found a smaller school that was a little bit more intimate. And at this point, I knew that I couldn't really trick it off. Not this time. Again, I'm taking my life personally. Before, I didn't take it personally. School was just to have fun. This time, school was to learn and have fun. So this time I was able to merge it. So, other questions? The 3 that come to mind, one was the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John Maxwell. That one helped me understand that there are levels to growth. And so that gave me a couple of different strategies for approaching how I wanted my personal development to be, because the first thing in his book said it was the law of, I'm just gonna say that as individuals, you grow up every year and you're stronger than the year before. You're 5 and you turn 6, you're stronger than you were at 5. You are stronger than you were at 7. And we like to think that because you just grow naturally that your personal development goes like that. It's not. So his first law was the law of intentionality, which was you have to be intentional about your growth. So give it intention and give it attention. And that was the one that kind of got me sparked on the journey. The Art of Possibility, written by, he was a Philharmonic conductor, that allowed me to understand that anything is possible. And then the third book is Leadership and Self-Deception. That helped me to understand that Our relationships with other people are complicated and they are a dance. And so you have to kind of learn how to do a dance and not, mess up a dance and blame other people for a dance that you messed up. So those are my three, 15 invaluable laws of growth, art of possibility, and leadership and self-deception.